You are listening to the Model Train Talk podcast. Each episode, RJ and I discuss various topics about the world's greatest hobby, model trains. The purpose of this podcast is to help promote, inspire, and bring a breath of fresh air to the hobby. Recording the podcast makes it possible to share stories of others and to help grow the model train community. Thank you for listening to the Model Train Talk podcast. This is Sam and RJ with the Model Train Talk podcast, and this is a very special episode because it is episode 10. And today we are joined by Cross Anchored Railroads. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good.
Awesome. We're excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. We have Mike and Brian here. They're going to talk a little bit about what they got going on at Cross Anchored Railroads. So I'm going to ask both of you, the very first question I ask every guest, how did you get into the hobby?
Well, I'll start. And for me, it was at 10 months old when I got a Brio, the Brio wooden trains. Mm-hmm. They sold them in like the Smart Kid stores. That's the only place you could find them back in the day. Yeah, I remember my aunt drove all the way into Pittsburgh, to go get this train for me. And it was a simple circle with like the 3 magnet cars and a little, it was a real simple train, no detail. And I still have it in a box. I want to pull it out, but eventually. And it started with that. My dad had Lionel's in the basement in that traditional Northeast down in the cellar. You go down there with the concrete that was painted, you slip and crack your head open on because they kept the concrete painted. And we'd be down there, and there's I always heard stories that I would start shaking. I was like 2 years old by the basement door before my dad would come home from work, and my mom would say I was over there going, choo-choo, mom, choo-choo, mom, choo-choo, because I wanted to go down and play them. And then my father decided that we were going to have HOs. So he sold all of his O scale, and he had it was all his stuff from a kid. Like his first NW2 that he got when he got 1 car a year for Christmas. That's how he built his train. But when we went to half scale, and that never really was it never really was the same thing to those post wars with the S2 turbine, Sam, like you had. He had one of those with the Pennsy passenger cars and the General, and I used to big ZW, and those were cool. And the HO layout never really caught on for me. I joined the club and in high school with it, and I went over there, but I was by far the only person under 70, and and it's completely defunct and gone now. Last time I went home, but they had the whole thing there, and then I decided I was going to start collecting again, and I said, well, I'm going to go back to O gauge. So once I finally had a house that had a space where I could start doing it after college and being in the Navy and stuff, there really wasn't the available space to play with O gauge. So then it started from there 15, 16 years ago, where I started collecting seriously. And Mike, you got introduced
Through you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met Brian when I was in the Navy still, and I had come over. He had, of course, shown me around, and we eventually made it to the layout, and he was like, you've got to see this. And I was like, okay.
I want to see my toys.
Which you never really know. But I went and checked it out, and I was like, oh, my God. I literally did not know these trains existed like this. I'd seen them in TV. I'd seen them in old movies and things, and especially in Gomez.
Gomez Addams.
Oh, yeah, from the Addams Family. I'd seen that. I loved that, how they wrecked all the time and blew up. And I was like, that was the coolest thing. And I didn't realize how cool they really were, and they were real, and people played with them still. And so I really got into it for the fact that it's like a robot. I like the tech part of it. I really like how the technology really pushes forward into it, and how you can use an app to control things and do stuff, and it does stuff. But what did you take off the first time? You took off one of the engines, and he's like, here, hold this. And I was put my hands out, and he handed it to me, and I was like, ooh. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, I had no idea how heavy it was.
Articulated engine.
So I've only been into it for about 8 years or so.
Yeah, we went to, that just kind of, about that long. And the layout's been going about then, because when it was only half here, when you saw it, only half of it was literally completed. My trains couldn't make a loop.
And it got much more intense once I got involved. I was like, oh, well, we're doing this.
You have an extra $5 here, buy an extra piece of wood.
We went to
it slowly grows.
We went to a couple shows.
Yeah.
And grabbed bridges, and I started getting into like scenery kind of things, and it hasn't been ready for scenery yet, so I haven't gotten into it too much, but I like the bridges. I really love bridges. I got 2 old wooden bridges that someone had made at one of the shows.
Yeah.
And I was insistent that we're buying these 3 bridges. I had no idea where they were going, no idea what we were doing with them, but I had to have them. And now they look awesome. Totally awesome on the layout. They just like thrill me.
Yeah. So that's how we got into trains.
Awesome. I love it. I think a lot of people can relate to going to a train show and being like, I need to have this piece. I have no clue what I'm going to do with it at any point in time, but I know I need to have it right now. And you guys have a fantastic layout. I've seen your YouTube channel as well. Do you kind of want to go into an introduction a little bit about your YouTube channel?
Well, we kind of had our introduction video, which we had put out a couple days ago with our mission statement. We started thinking about it. We made a YouTube channel back in May?
Yeah, we made the channel in February, and then we didn't post the video until May. And I got that Fillmore and the thing, and we tried to do one little video, and we posted like 2 or 3, and then we didn't decide till end of June to really do it.
Yeah, we were kind of like playing with it a little bit, and then we started going into it a little bit, and I realized by especially watching like GFW, watching both of y'all's channels, and we started like checking it out, and I was like, wow, there is actually like a bunch of people into this, and it isn't just like older gentlemen. And don't get me wrong, no offense, I'm not trying to like say nothing, but I kind of had the perception, especially kind of going to like the train show, it seemed like older gentlemen were really into it, and that was kind of it, and they brought their grandkids. But it's not really the case. There is younger people into this, and it's pretty neat. And so one of the things that we wanted to push into, as you saw in our mission statement, was STEM, and showcasing it rather to the other part of the generation that doesn't even realize it exists anymore. And I have a personal like what's the word? Personal
connection.
Yeah, connection. There you go. Towards like the younger generation, and trying to include them in and teach them about technology, about everything that's going on in life. And it's not everything that's just on Facebook. You don't have to sit on Facebook and look at all the hate or anything else going on. There's some cool stuff. And so one of our ideas with this channel that we had created was we wanted to showcase how it could be fun and how it could be educational, how you could learn about technology, computers, programming, woodworking. I mean,
get electrocuted slightly.
Slightly. I mean,
yeah, that's hot.
When we first started the layout and got it growing further from the Navy standpoint, I'm an IT I was an IT in the Navy, and a lot of our technology is actually from like 1940, 1950, 1960. And it like grew. And as we grew with technology, they didn't stop using the old technology. They just added on to it. So it's actually very similar to how Lionel did their layouts and did everything and switched from going from analog to digital. you have to like deal with communication between the two different technologies, but it is quite possible. And I know it can be difficult, but it is possible. I mean, that's what our layout is. That's why we use the app. So
I find that it fascinates me every time, like a little kid, that I can run my line out trains with my phone, and I can go like this on my phone, and it's not connected to that. I find that just like, yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, I think it's very cool that you guys are showing that different perspective of the hobby. Kind of like how Mike first entered the hobby. He was like, "Whoa, I didn't know this existed." You're showcasing all those different elements of the hobby to people who are maybe looking to get into the hobby in some way, and maybe your YouTube channel might entice them a little bit. RJ, do you have anything to add to what they've discussed so far?
First off, I just want to thank both of you guys for your service.
Yes, thank you.
thank you.
And you guys do a real great job, like being interactive with the community, which I also want to, condemn you guys, not condemn you guys, but thank you guys for. It's like, but interacting with the community and just helping to build an overall community in the hobby, like Sam and I are trying to do. And you guys have a great YouTube channel, so if you guys aren't subscribed to them yet, you really should go check out their channel. The real rising stars in the O-Gauge YouTubing world. I think you guys are almost at 150 if you didn't pass it already. But so I was just thinking, for somebody who may not know your channel, what are you looking to model? Because you're still in the beginning process of your layout. I know you have the layout introductory video, which we'll link down below. But, just a real quick, like your big ideas and what trains you like running.
There's no exact geographic location that is picked. And I think, like a lot of people's layouts, it comes from your life and different things you like. So with this, and being in Virginia where we live, I decided to go with, as a PRR, growing up in Pennsylvania, PRR fan, so I knew that was going to work. But in Virginia, there was 7 railroads. So you had the PRR that ran, the Louisville, Nashville, the Southern, the Norfolk and Western, the C&O, the B&O, and Richmond, Fredericksburg, and Potomac. So I said, okay, here we are down here. I'm stuck to those 7 railroads, basically. And I'll try to stick with that and have ideas where I want a cityscape, and I wanted mountains, I want coal mines, I want my engine area, I want a water scene, and then taking experiences from different stuff. We picked stuff, and I would have never come up with all this track plan without Mike. There's many times that he was like, well, why don't you just make a track go over there? And I was like, you just can't make a track go over there. Well, wait a minute. Oh. And it just kept growing and growing, because he didn't look at it so much from the parameters of the track. It was more free thinking, and that pushed me in different directions.
Yeah, I'm more of an idea man. I'd be like, wait, why are you even doing that?
Yeah, and again, not overly prototypical, to the point where it's like you got to run these certain exact trains. I was always more partial to the older steamers and early diesels, the baby face F units, E units. They're just gorgeous, and the steamers and the colorful livery the old railroads used to have. And we liked running that, but got into the modern stuff. And I was like, once I saw those heritage units, I was like, oh, now I can like go get modern diesels, and started getting into the bigger cars, because that was one of my things. I was like, I built parts of the layout, and then I got an intermodal car that was full size. I had some 027 ones, and they fit. I got a full size intermodal car, and I'm like, oh, because there were so many places. And I'll have to point them out at some point where we had to change the actually cut in the walls, and we went 3-dimensional with the layout, where we actually had to drop down and go up. So the span of the layout covers 4 feet, and
Wow.
5 levels that covers 4 feet. Minimum curve is 072, goes up to 096, and all 072 and some 060 switches, but an 060 switch still has the 22.5-degree turn. So it functions the same way. And usually you could find those for an extra $10 or $15 cheaper sometimes. And because it adds up, because I don't know, I have 54 switches or something now on the lab.
Jeez.
Yeah, he whispers that part.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to be able to go anywhere on the layout to anywhere on the layout with any locomotive was the goal in building it, type thing.
So once this layout's done, it's gonna be pretty impressive then.
I hope so.
Yeah, We're hoping the scenery starts to roll a little faster as we're starting to get in order. That'll probably really kick into the fall here into summer, because we're going to start work on that bridge that y'all have seen, that swing bridge. That's the next project going in. And then the mountain's going to be our first major, start making it look like a mountain and see how that works out.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that mountain. I've been dreaming about that thing for like years. But you had to wait for the skeleton to be created and everything to run. There's no electrical problems. There's no dead spots, because you don't want a dead spot to pop up right after you put a mountain over it.
Yeah. All those crazy.
So we got a lot of troubleshooting done, and now I can really get to working on my mountain. I'm super excited.
Go ahead, RJ. I accidentally cut you off. I'm sorry.
I forgot what I was going to say, but the next question I have in mind is that in that mission statement that you referenced earlier, you said that trains are very therapeutic and they help you out, and I think that's something that a lot of us think, but we don't necessarily admit it, and we don't have to get into it if you don't want to, but how have trains helped you therapeutically? Because I know that after a long day, there's nothing better than going and running trains for a little bit.
It is when they're when they're running right and you can sit there and watch them. But at times it seems like it increases one's stress level slightly. But it is probably for me with my conditions with combat PTSD, which coupled with depression and anxiety. And with those, the idea was this allowed me to come up here, and this was my world. Mm-hmm. I made the rules. I created it. If you ever watch American Dad, Stan had that episode where he got into model trains. He was all into making, everything the way it was supposed to be. Mm-hmm. So that in itself, to me, lent a lot of the therapy, because this was my world to come to. And to be able to, okay, the rest of that insanity is out here, and I can just come up here and create my world and work on that. And then we made it our world, kind of going together with it. And it is, and there's just something, because when you're building it, the other thing that most people don't really get anymore is a sense of accomplishment, because so much stuff is digital and actually isn't tangible and you can touch it. And the model trains give you that sense of accomplishment, and you can literally, even if you just build the circle out of the starter set, I put that in and I built it together and I completed the circuit and I hooked the transformer up and I accomplished something. And as you start to work on a layout, I've heard both of you speak with, pride in your voice, talking about something you just completed on your layout. You're making a video of it. And that is part of, I think, also that therapeutic value that comes from it. You get an amazing sense of accomplishment, even with yourself.
And like you said before, going with your sense of accomplishment, your goal with the YouTube channel was applying STEM. So, there's so many different aspects for everybody in this hobby. So if somebody is into all the tech stuff like Mike might be able to figure out what's wrong with the legacy engine and all that stuff going on with it. And it's wow, I did that today, and, stuff like that. And I definitely think another part of the layout and stuff like that is like all the scenery and like bringing everything to a personal level. I know you guys are starting to model things that you see at home in Virginia, and I know RJ has a lot of Long Island pieces in his collection, and I know
it makes me a Pennsylvania Railroad fan by proxy.
Yes,
so
it does.
I mean, we're fans.
At the Keystone.
And with my layout, like I said before, I visited South Dakota, saw the Black Hills, and I modeled one on my layout. So I definitely think kind of going along with that therapeutic, keeping the memories instilled in your layout. I don't know if you've met Steve, Stephen Cofferel. He has everything from his childhood and stuff like that in his layout as well. So it's very cool to see that. And everybody's layout's different. There's not one similar. So
one thing dealing kind of with the channel and how we wanted to reinvigorate the hobby, and with that is in the different areas we post and trying to drive traffic to the channel, is also made a lot of acquaintances. And I've been hit up, and I just spent an hour on a video chat with somebody, a gentleman who was like, you know, I've been in the trains for 20 years. He's my age, he's my age, and it's longer than 20 years, but he just got Legacy. And he was like, what the hell am I doing wrong? This thing's sitting here. It won't move. I hit all the, and went through and got him up and running, making lash ups and everything like that, what he wanted to get the Legacy for. And that's, to me, one of the great things about model railroading. And it's always just trying to, I want to help my fellow model railroaders who don't, like, their experience doesn't lend them to understand something about it, whether it's from the carpentry to the wiring to the tech involved, and be able to, like, at least point you in the right direction. We don't have all the answers, but we can at least, get you through some parts of it.
Yeah. And there's something important to me with being on the spectrum. I have family members that are on the spectrum, that are autism spectrum, and based upon some similarities that I have, I've been told that I'm probably on the spectrum as well. I don't have any official diagnosis, but I have a habit of taking things very literally. And one of the things going with this is it's free. It's freedom, and there is nothing that you have to think about. It can truly include everyone. Just because you don't understand something doesn't mean that you can't learn it. And being on the spectrum doesn't stop you from learning it either. And there's a lot of people that are out there that are on the spectrum that are fascinated by this trains and the layout, the electricity, the carpentry, all of it, but they just don't know how to express themselves. And that's something that we want to push forward too in our channel, and to make sure that they feel included and help them grow inside of it as well. That was a little off topic, but
no, it's good.
It's important to me to talk about it. I know we were talking about it earlier.
Yeah, it's totally okay. We even discussed that in episode 8 with Greg. He said people on that spectrum would come down to the club layout and they would just be themselves. And
yeah, we saw that. That was really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool to hear that. And I want to be like that for somebody and stuff like that. And I think everybody does. And that's what you guys are doing with the channel and, trying to get involved with the community. And that's the same thing we're doing here at the podcast, trying to reach out to everybody, let them know that they're welcome into the hobby and into the community. RJ, do you have anything to add?
I know me personally, I know of someone who's on the spectrum and gets a lot of enjoyment out of watching my videos. And although you may not know someone personally who watches your channel, who may be on the spectrum, but the amount of joy that one of your videos could bring one person, I know for me that's enough motivation to just keep putting out videos like that. The fact that they could really help someone during the day or there are people who get a lot of enjoyment out of that, and that's
It's
something
really cool.
I take with me when I'm making my videos.
Completely agree with you. I'm not one for social media. It's like, this is the first time I'm really on it and looking at it, and I'm like, well, I dove into like 14 different websites in the deep end real quick, trying to like figure out that this is a like, this is a read, this is a thumbs up, this is a, and pushing it here and sharing it here, and everybody, but the feedback we've gotten so far has been phenomenal. I've been shocked by it and what people say back, and I'm shocked that it's been so positive. I was expecting a lot more people throwing shade, and then we haven't got it, and I'm kind of happy with that it seems to be going over positively and attracting a positive crowd, vice haters.
I know that there are other railroading communities out there on social media that don't get along, but at the end of the day, we're all us O-scalers. We're all running tracks on 3 rails. You can't say that anything's truly prototypical, and at the end of the day, we can all kick back and enjoy watching our trains go, not having to worry about the nitty-gritty details.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No.
Yeah, definitely agree with RJ there. And, that's one of the things with my YouTube channel that I was surprised by, is how many other people there are out there and how many positive feedbacks I received. And, I originally made my channel just for looking back in the future, like 20 years later, and be like, oh, I used to have that. That's pretty cool. To now, where it's like, if I can influence one person, then I've done my job or whatever.
But you've influenced us.
Yes.
And we appreciate that. You've shown us that people actually care as much as we do. And it's pretty cool.
And I can speak for myself here. I watch your videos and I take down notes on what I want to try and do on future layouts. And that's a great thing that we have here by sharing our layouts and whatever, is that we can take from other people and learn different things.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I've really enjoyed this podcast that y'all been doing. We've watched a couple of them, and it's like, oh, wow, that's a neat idea. I hadn't even considered that. And as we're sitting here like this, and it's just like, okay, I've never been interviewed before.
Before we started, he was like, yeah, how does this go? And I was like, I don't know. We just kind of go for it. So
we just talk for 45 minutes. We post it on the internet.
Yeah, but another one of the reasons why I started the podcast was to, kind of get people out there that may not be known to some, give helpful information, keep a record of the history of our community and stuff like that. And so I was talking to some other friends today that I've had on the podcast, and they were like, who are you interviewing next? And we were like, Cross Anchored Railroads Tonight. And they were like, oh, I've never heard of them. I was like, when this podcast comes out, you better go check them out, because it's gonna be a good one. But
yeah, we're super excited to see it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome. Again, number 1, thank you for your service, and number 2, thank you for coming on tonight. Greatly appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah.
We were super excited. We kind of hoped that you'd invite us.
Yeah.
Your wish came true. Your wish is true. All right, RJ, do you have anything you would like to add?
Obviously everything that Sam said, but one last question I have for you guys. So what color are you getting the S1 in?
The Tuscan one is really cool. It's a neat imaginary scheme, but there is the pretty Brunswick green. I don't know. And it's just, what do you do? Decisions.
I want the green personally.
Yeah. Well, it's the 13 passenger cars that come with it too. That's like,
well, you can't not get all 13.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, when you
gotta have the complete set.
Well, you do. If you have the S1 and you get all 13 cars, it's $4,025.27. You get the whole train.
It's definitely worth it, though. Every penny. It's definitely worth it.
Yeah, he's like, if you get 1,500 subscribers by the order deadline, go ahead and order it.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It's like, okay, that's like a nice imaginary carrot you put out there. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a good challenge, and then I started realizing like how many subscribers we had and what date it was. I was like, oh, okay. Well,
I did want to say to piggyback on what we had mentioned, but anybody watching this, if you do hit us up, because we use cross anchors across all of our media platforms. If you want to hit us up, more than happy to go over problems with you and to try to work out an issue, because it's probably not that complicated. And you're missing one button in a sequence, or you've crossed one wire out of 20, and there's proper troubleshooting to narrow it down so you don't pull your hair out. Mm-hmm. There's lots of things. Don't be scared to ask questions. There is no dumb question in this hobby. And there's a 1,000 ways to skin a cat. There's 1,000 ways to build a lab. And not one way is the exact way, but if you have questions about something, don't be scared to ask, and hit us up on a more private one, because you don't want to say something out in a public chat room or something. But that's fine. Ask questions, and we've been getting a lot of that, actually.
Yeah, I was more surprised by that, actually, how many people have actually asked us already, and we video chatted. Well, more Brian, honestly. But video chatted and actually helped, and sat there for an hour and was like, okay, well, let's go through your problem.
Well, it's everybody keeps saying, how do you get the youth back into the hobby, right? Because we got to save the hobby. And everybody talks about that, but I'm thrilled that I'm getting people in their 20s and under that are contacting with questions. So it's like, all right, and that there's a nerve being struck there that seems to be causing a conduit of communication, which is how this all goes, instead of like, that's not how you do it.
Yeah.
I remember some of the first stuff I saw with you, Sam, was kind of along that be nice. Don't be nice to us. Women ask questions. Type of a thing. But yeah, I ramble on.
Yeah, those are some very valid points. You kind of talked about with people coming in with questions and getting younger people into the hobby. I've said it before, but when I started this, I felt like the hobby needed a breath of fresh air, as GFW wisely put it. So, that's what I've been doing, just grinding, going along. Me and RJ out here, just killing it. So, yeah, we're just along for the ride. No pun intended. So.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are doing an outstanding job, and you're sticking with it, and that's what's impressive. You're sticking with it. You're going to accomplish things, and you're going to help change this hobby because of what you guys are doing. You're going to be major influencers in this hobby. Just stick with what you're doing, and you have the right recipe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you as well. You guys are really making a name for yourselves out there. Hopefully after this podcast, we can us at the Model Train Talk podcast can help you out a bit. So
we'd appreciate that. But I wanted to let y'all know that I don't know if you've seen our channel recently, but you should go to scroll down to the bottom of the channel and check that out. We just updated that. We're pretty happy over it.
All right.
I think they
links and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. I'll just let you
go. We'll let the viewers figure it out.
Yeah. I'm excited.
We'll link all the appropriate links in the description for you guys, all their different social media platforms. As we kind of wrap up the Q&A session here, any closing thoughts that you guys have tonight?
RJ, I heard you were coming down this way, right?
So I go to school down in DC.
Okay.
And so I'm gonna head down to Ashland for a day, because I was gonna rail fan a bit, and then all of a sudden there's now this honey hole of a train store right next to the tracks that I have to check out. And I can't leave my wallet in the car. I can't leave my wallet in the car because my car is an Amtrak Amfleet. So,
Yeah.
Well,
so my bank account thanks you guys.
Yeah.
we'll have to meet you and we'll pay for your lunch.
Yeah.
That way you
Sounds
can spend
good.
more money on
Looking forward
trains.
to it.
There you go. Sounds good. Sounds like a
Do you
great
have
time.
anything?
We covered a lot. I just keep yammering, and it's just thanks, guys. It's been fun, and it's the world's greatest hobby. You know, I've sourced 3 railroad scale, but at any scale, and try to go out and support your local brick and mortars that are still around. You don't have to go buy a Vision line, spend $5. Buy something from them. Help them out. Everybody says they want to. If you can, go do that. I guess that would kind of be where I'd say that.
Yep. Yeah, we talked about that before, and just trying to keep these guys alive and keep our hobby alive and stuff like that. All right, cool. That's kind of all the questions I believe we have for today. So you guys also discussed showing and displaying your layout a little bit. Would you guys like to do that?
Yeah, sure.
All right, cool.
Let me see if I can take this out of here.
I want a Millhouse or a Bowser, 34-inch, but for now that'll work. And I have that wired up with, that's TMCC controlled. And then so those are all custom bridges that we built. The orange one, the blue girder, and the purple one. Tried to do some interesting colors. And the orange one's one gigantic bridge. Even with the Y and everything. And it's 12 feet long from the furthest parts. There's one of those ones Mike was talking about earlier that we found at a train show, the wooden trestle there. You got to have a wooden trestle. So there you go, RJ. You guys got to be quiet, but that's the mystery engine from Tiny Tim's. So, MTH Premier 3.0. So
It's beautiful.
I have this in here, and all 3 are power units on that, so they'll be really cool when they start up. Can you hit the green button there, Mike?
Sure. Start up?
Yeah. And I'm a fan of the app. I love the apps and being able to go between. You can type much better. Well, here I'll show you. Quick, count the bridges. Yeah. Yeah, you need this guy right here, TIU, and then that guy is a WIU. I find the apps easier, but it's you save all your old iPhones, and then you can hand them out as remotes. And they're, type things, because then you just have the apps on them, and you can download the stuff. I find it, dealing with all my switches, because I have so many switches, I have a ton of routes built. There's another bridge. Yet another one. Yeah. This guy. Uh-huh. Yeah, we have some, he was very good, Mike was very good about taking some pictures in different stages of it and going over certain things while I was working on it, so that was kind of cool.
I'm going to give you some behind the scenes in the mountain.
Crawl behind there? Okay. Because up in there he's going, but and then that's the top level up there. That's level 5, and that's an up and over. And then I did that Y there, so you could reverse it out of the mountain. And then eventually there's going to be a bridge that'll go all the way over to that upper area, and that upper area is going to be a coal mine. And the coal is to be able to park about 50 to 60 coal cars there, and then pull it out and have the coal come out, down the mountain, and come all the way down out of the mountain and come down here to the water and unload like they do at the piers here in Newport News, Virginia. So, good.
Yeah, we're super excited.
Yeah, he's way back over there. Because he's probably 16 feet from me. Yeah.
This is absolutely my favorite spot in the layout. I'm totally planning inside the mountain. The mountain's going to be like here. And we're going to have some sort of opening or something so I can still see out. Because I love standing back here.
Over in this area.
Oh, I got to show you this. Oh, yeah.
All that under there, you can see where I had to cut it lower.
Exactly. Like you can sit in there with the Komodo dragons and the alligators.
That's where I had to cut it lower to dive down.
Yeah.
So, yeah, actually it's like a little over 4 feet from the bottom track all the way up to that top track at the top of the mountain. And going around.
Well, we've been planning an instructional video.
See, I mean, I have grades everywhere. And I don't pull I don't pull short trains. Oh yeah, and I played them in the video for the unboxing, all this stuff, and it's a lot from George W. Bush, from the couple things instead of normal track announcements. He says a couple things from the eulogy he was given, and I really wanted that one, even though it's probably the only Union Pacific engine that'll grace my layout. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but he was a Navy veteran, and I had a lot of respect for George Herbert Walker Bush and everything he did in his life, and how he handled himself and his character, and all that type of stuff was very meaningful. And then finding out later how he had PTSD from his time in World War II. If you listen to him at the end, talked about that. And so
This bridge is one of my favorites that I had come up with.
yeah, this whole thing here, the whole mountain was Mike. So it was, how do I get from these tracks all the way up? So we went back into the dormer, it curves all the way back there, and comes up to get to that top one. And that's, I don't know, 20, 22 feet. But, and I can run, 5 trains at one time, 5 independent loops. Yeah, because that takes 2 TIUs and 8 180-watt bricks. So 1 brick powers each major area. The engine area has 1, the yard has 1, each main has 1, etc., like that. And the passenger station in the back, you can see them parked back there. So those back 2 tracks are just for the passenger station. They come in from each side, stuff of that nature.
I personally, one of the biggest things for me is I really like being able to climb in the back of these areas. And I think that that's something when we finalize our layout, I still want to be able to do and be able to see out. And I think I love taking kids back through here, or even like my sister. It's like, come check this out. And we like go crawling through or whatever. And we poke our heads out. And we just have a blast looking at the trains going by.
Because that up there is going to be the city. And you know, like it knows how you had to go below, so that's why the passenger station's down there, how you had to go below the train station, in theory, is what I was trying to go for. And how to be able to get it done, and And all this started with an oval sitting up here and just kept growing and bit by bit, and it wasn't a completely worked out track plan. And because this space being an attic is oddly shaped, so I just kept expanding and expanding to take up every available square inch that I could. There's like, you know, they're like potato chips, you can't have just one. Yeah, and when the coal goes in and stuff, you know, we'll get a little bit bigger. But yeah, because they're gonna do always, you know. And yeah, it definitely. I'm really loving that George Bush. It is a smooth runner. It just really cool, really cool. Sweet. See, and I'm using, here's the Lionel app, and this is why I like finding my engines better on the app, because they're all written out. And you can type them in, and it's just, to me, it's a much easier. So I go down to my Steam, and I want to do my Mohawk, which is over there. But I told you I had the turntable on command, so I need to, well, you should start going. I always see turntables and nobody ever like really seems to use them a lot. I mean, this Atlas one, what happened? Of course. It's on camera. Something happened. What's it stuck on?
I don't know.
Maybe it's. I made a little mess earlier, and I think there's something that was still stuck down there. Of course. Right? Can't win. And like those were some last. These two lines here. That was like some last minute like. Okay, we need an inbound and an outbound engine track in the engine area, and just working them through, and just, you know, and I buy a lot of used stuff. All my stuff ain't new. I am cheap, and because it's like, you know, there's stuff I follow for 6 months on eBay, and like, you ready to sell it? Or how much longer are you gonna leave it on there? And you know, I've gotten some stuff that's messed up, but a lot I've been able to like fix, or there really wasn't anything wrong with it at all. You just had to like clean it up and put power to it, and there it went. And you got to be it doesn't all have to be brand new. You know, a little elbow grease solves a lot of problems. You know, because there's a lot to these layouts. You know, besides the blood, sweat, and tears. But I think we probably handled you guys too long.
Yeah, this is pretty fun.
And I love it with the veteran engine. Sweet. Like, oh my God, RJ's got a George Bush, and then I went there and they had the George Bush, and I was all like, for reals? Oh no. See, you guys are influencers. You know? That's exactly what they want. You know, you got me to go spend money at a company. That's an influencer.
Yeah, Tiny Tim's appreciate
right?
it.
No. Like, yeah, it just, you know. But it's the back shop, and those are all the big grind tools, and it comes on and makes like noise, and it lights up, like it's, and those things all move down there, the back shop tools.
Yeah, it's really cool.
But I have to get that wired back up because I hadn't moved on to the accessory wiring right now. I was still just finishing up some of the track stuff. You can see I had to have, like, just dealing with this extension there, different things. Because I was able to get, I think, 11 whisker tracks. Because these turntables take up a sick amount of room. Because I can still fit a 34-inch there, because I measured for that in the future. That I had to do that. Because it was like, yeah, eventually I'll get tired of that, and that'll have to be like a save up for. And then those bridges over there, and I'm going to have to decide what happens to that Bascal bridge. I don't know. It's going to like go sit and be dusty somewhere in a box.
No, it's not. I have an idea.
Okay.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
And I was kind of proud of what we did with the Hellgate Bridge. Because these pressure switches, because I have safeties built in, so like the train doesn't plummet off the end or slam into the bridge. So you can see here, there's a cut I made in the track, and then I used the switch ends on the fast track here. So that's why it's the transition track, and you have the pins on it. So when the bridge comes down and makes contact, it powers this end of the track back here. So the trains can't plummet off this end, because when this bridge goes down, these are like closet switches for the lights in closets. So when they depress, the power's put to this back section of track, the bridge, and then that section over there. So that's like a built-in safety feature. So, yeah. Yeah, that was a really cool aha moment for us. I was like, oh, wait a minute, because I was like, I'm going to be talking, and then I'm going to hear $2,000 fall. And I'm not going to be happy. Because the first time I ran the mountain, I took up, you saw the coal train here? With those two, there's Lionel Legacy, Norfolk Heritage, Penn Central, Penn 73, and the 1854 PRR. And at the very height of it, right there at the height of the top, down to the floor. But it's carpeted, so it didn't shatter into a million pieces, and it bent one handrail. I put it back in, and it fired right back up. I was like, oh, thank you.
But you could hear it.
Oh, I wove an epitaph of words when that thing fell off of there. That was, oh my God.
I was downstairs.
That engine I bought actually at Lionel. I went to their first warehouse sale that they had in November, if you've heard of those, where they open up the warehouse and you get to go through. I went that first year, and they had stupid deals. That 1073 was a, it was one of the ones that were fixed and nobody picked up. And they were selling, then that's all the engines they were selling there was all these ones that had been repaired and nobody paid for. And they were selling them for a song like $250, $300 for these legacy engines, and they guaranteed them. They were grown men body chucking each other, and they were people with 4 carts.
Yep, awesome. Thank you guys for showing us. Thank you guys for coming on the podcast today. Again, thank you for your service. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate it. Good on both of you. You're doing a great job with this. Bravo Zuber.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I recommend everybody coming up on your podcast.
If they invite you, do it. They're great guys.
All right. Well,
see you guys later.
Thank you for coming on. And viewers who are watching, thank you for sticking around for the podcast tonight. Special thanks to these guys for coming on and showing their whole layout and discussing trains with us. I will link all of the appropriate links in the description below so you can check them out. This has been the Model Train Tank. Man, I really butchered that, didn't I? This has been the Model Train Talk podcast, and I will see you guys in the next episode.